Okay,
All right.
apparently things are now perfect. It says, yep, all right. Everything seems to be good. Everything's okay. What have you missed? Absolutely nothing. We haven't begun yet. If
Yeah.
anything, you've gained something by missing the last minute or so.
Twitch has changed its interface since the last time we streamed, which might have been the New Year's stream, now that I think about it. We haven't really done anything this year.
So, we decided this would work better as a stream than as a full episode because we don't have a full episode's worth of comments, but we do have a full stream's worth of fucking around while day drinking.
Yeah, so this is one of the two winners of the Patron Week poll, which has tied a lot lately. So the Patron Week poll tied on Total War Troy with history lessons and Bioshock Infinite, a hate stream, and I have absolutely no interest in relitigating Bioshock Infinite 7 years later. If you feel cheated by that, well, here's my take in one sentence. Holy crap, that game was even more prophetically brain dead than we thought it was. Fuck that.
Yeah.
And that is about all I have to say on it.
The creators of that game are kind of embarrassed these days.
Yeah.
To come back and revisit it.
Alright. So.
Anyway. I do have an anecdote which I'll get into later about Bioshock Infinite, so that'll be our little treat, our little dessert for once we get to a lull in the gameplay.
Yeah. So I don't anticipate this going on for too long, maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I haven't actually played this game aside from running benchmarks and stuff. I've been busy with other stuff.
Boy.
I've been kidnapped by a bunch of people who want me to play Final Fantasy XIV, so I've been doing that. I got an index.
Oh man, I've been avoiding those people.
A couple weeks ago.
I've been one step ahead of that. One step ahead of the Final Fantasy XIV press gang my whole life.
I got an index finally like 2 weeks ago, so I've been messing around with that. Skyrim Vr is actually playable with an index.
We should do a co-op VR game at some point.
Oh yeah,
for spoiler warning.
What would be a good?
I know a couple of possibilities.
You do?
There's actually a submarine game that looks pretty.
Oh, the Iron something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've had that on my wish list for a while, just because like cool. Drive around a submarine in VR and mess around with like controls and then get torpedoed and die in crushing depths of the ocean.
I don't know, is there like a sloop experience for Star Trek bridge whatever?
That'd be fun. That's just the scene early in Generations where they're on the holodeck on a boat, and then the climax for every mission is someone gets walked the plank. All right, so we're gonna hit new campaign here. We'll get into the history stuff in a minute. So I guess they don't have a great huge map here. You pick one of the heroes on either the side of the Greeks or the side of the Trojans, and do the Trojan War, I guess.
I'm kind of assembling like a list of mythological dickbag heroes, and Odysseus is pretty high on the list. Like I'd say he's like in the like dickbag Avengers, Odysseus is the representative from Greek mythology.
I mean, I wouldn't say anyone on this list was much better.
No, but like Odysseus just like is kind of like he's a like Achilles. It's kind of like his thing. Odysseus is just kind of like a general purpose dickbag.
Yeah.
Like he has a lot of dickbag adventures rather than just kind of being like an aggro douche. It's like Odysseus and I think Sinbad would be like the 1001 Arabian Nights equivalent.
Yeah, he's also got that treatment where, they do a really popular movie and then they do a sequel focused on one of the side characters.
Oh, yeah.
I guess we could be one of the Trojans. We could be Paris or Hector.
And Paris is great because Paris is explicitly a fuckboy, and because he looks like Orlando Bloom, I'm feeling Paris.
Wait, I'm trying to think about the casting.
I'm
of
pretty
the
sure he
2004
was.
movie.
Yeah.
Was it Orlando Bloom?
I'm pretty
as
sure
Paris?
Orlando Bloom was Paris. Yeah.
Because I know Sean Bean was Odysseus. In like the only Sean Bean role where he survives the whole fucking movie because he has to go do the other one.
Orlando Bloom is Paris. I'm actually not sure if I regret seeing that movie or not.
I thought it was fun. It was
fun.
You know, I mean, it wasn't. I can't use historically accurate because, as it turns out, the Iliad is not exactly a wealth of historical information. But you know, it wasn't.
Okay, so I don't know how to say that guy's
name.
I don't know how to say the Lord of Dardania's name, so if I were to pronounce it, it would just come out. I'm sure it's like Aeneas, but if I were to pronounce it, it would just come out Anus.
Yeah.
Like anus. It seems like a great disrespect to an entire culture, so we probably shouldn't play that character.
Well, the fun bit is, I'm not sure anyone even knows what culture the Trojans really were.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so the other thing with the Iliad is I haven't ever actually read the Iliad in its entirety. I'm much more familiar with like the actual historical and archaeological information for the period than I am with like the beat of the plot with the Iliad and the character beats and stuff. So there was Achilles.
The Iliad seems like one of those novels that you should. Or not novels per se. One of those things you should read someday just to say you've done it, and then forget everything that happens in it.
I actually have sitting next to me a hardcover edition of the Iliad on the Odyssey, which I picked up a while ago, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. So, it probably would have been a good idea to do that this week, but I'm lazy. And actually busy. So what do you think? Should we just go with like Achilles is like the obvious one?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell like a starting situation hard even means in this context. Or do we want to go go the Trojans, be Hector, get stabbed?
Sure. Let's go Hector and Paris. One of those two.
Yeah, let's be Hector here. So that's the other interesting thing is how does this game work as a total war game? Because, like, the Iliad does not really describe the war so much as it is, like, 10 years later, there's a siege and everybody's hanging out, like...
Yeah. That's a good question, and a lot of it, like, the actual story itself is, like, kind of... I get the sense that it's mostly, like, people squaring off and like heroes, but that's been a thing that they've been doing, like with their Romance of Three Kingdoms game.
Yeah. The other problem is I've kind of fallen off the Total War bandwagon for the past few years. I'm not interested in Warhammer at all, so I haven't played any of the Total Warhammer games, which are not actually called Total Warhammer, which is stupid. And I did play a bit of the Three Kingdoms game, but I never really got into that one either. So
the safety of Troy.
I like the idea that line "he's taken my wife" is literally the only line you need to tell this story.
You have my oath.
Like there shouldn't be any other narration. It should just be that.
Return to you. Brother, I can fight. Go.
This kind of feels like them just like doing
plenty of fighting ahead.
The movie in engine with different faces at this point, like
the wrath of
just subtly wrong faces
upon Troy.
Like the Avengers game, they don't have the likenesses.
That he has incited war. Whether the walls of Ilios will endure, only the gods can tell.
That is,
That guy looks like he's from Dynasty Warriors.
This armor is wrong.
It is. It absolutely is.
This armor is actually more wrong than the movie actually did pretty well as far as its props go for, like, you know, bronze swords and armor and stuff.
Oh, speaking of Dynasty Warriors, sort of, Liu Zhishan is definitely the Chinese representative of the douchebag, like mythological figures group.
Yeah. With 1,000 ships. not just to take back Helen, but to kill every last Trojan.
That guy's fucking
and
awesome. You guys ever
burn
read
Troy
like Water
to
Margin?
ash.
Lucius Shen is just like the best character by a
Brother,
huge
Your
leap.
foolish passion has doomed
I have
us.
not
He's
read
just
it.
like the worst monk ever.
You rule over the innermost.
Like his
region
deal
of
is that
Troy
he was like the
from
captain of a
city
guard, and
Zelair.
then he like beat some guy's brains in
Reckless Prince
over something,
Paris
and then he
has
realized
taken
that he just
beautiful
murdered a
Helen to
man,
his
so he just kind of
hold
plays
on
it off and
the
walks
Trojan
off casually, like, "Right, I'll deal with you later," and like
Reprisals
skips
have
town
already
before anyone
begun.
realizes the guy's
An
dead.
alien incursion
And then, like,
has
to escape
ravaged
being
the south.
convicted, he like goes to a friend
The
who
raid
bought
was
like a
launched from
commission
Lesbos,
for a monkhood from a
but
Buddhist
they
monastery,
do not yet
and just
fully
like gives it to
control
him.
the island.
But then he's such a terrible monk that his whole
north,
narrative arc for the
Aeneas
first
holds
like
the Hellespont
third of the
for
book,
Troy.
like of the story,
Fear
is
not,
that
noble
like
cousins.
every monastery he
I
comes
stand
to,
with
they're like,
you.
"We gotta get rid of this guy. Let's send him somewhere else."
On the nearby western
Have you ever seen the
your
the Redcliffe
brother,
movie?
Troilos, protects the coastal waters
I don't
in
remember
name
the
of
exact
your father.
name of it,
no.
but it's something like the battles of Redcliffe or something like that.
You must
It's like
bring
a
together
4-hour
Troy's
long
disparate forces to counter
you know, like
Achaea's
Chinese
inevitable
language
vengeance.
epic film.
Yeah.
Alright,
No, I
so
can't say I'm familiar.
we gotta. Well, it's good. You should watch it. It used to be on Netflix, but I don't think it is anymore because Netflix got rid of all of its, Chinese films. Cool.
The
Okay,
enemy
so
sends their warriors against you to ravage your lands and sack your cities, but perhaps they underestimate your strength. March out.
So what's going? Okay,
Engage
wow,
them
that's a
in
lot of
battle
information
and
you've
put
got
them
right
to
here.
flight.
Did you just
Yeah.
show like a campaign?
Yeah, so that is, it's a campaign. It's like a total war campaign, but there's a specific story to it as opposed to like Rome, where it's just conquer. We'll give you like some basic objectives to get bonus stuff, but it doesn't really matter if you do them or not.
I was actually okay. So I ended up not doing this for two reasons. I was considering for a while just buying this game so that we could like do co-op. We could do like multiplayer versus battles.
Oh, that would.
And I elected not to for three reasons. One is that I knew that I wouldn't really have time to practice it. Another is that I was weirdly sure that you would kick my ass to like a not fun to watch degree.
So we've got an initial
and the third-
mission. Oh, keep going.
Troy's finest wine.
Yeah, the third reason was that I guess I just don't care that much about this game.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to reflect badly on it.
So this looks like the kind of the basic stuff that they came up with for Rome, where you've got, or Rome 2, I should say, where you've got provinces that link together, walled cities, and smaller villages. Although, no, yeah, okay. Rather than each kind of city being its own thing.
Okay.
I assume, yeah, okay, so you recruit from generals, so yeah, okay, they made significant paradigm shifts with Rome 2, and it looks like they haven't changed that too much. So, our initial mission is to defeat an army of the Macaria faction, which, hey, guess what? There's one right here.
Into battle.
Fantastic.
Oh, we could just auto-resolve this. Now, let's
God
let's
is
do a
on your
fight.
side.
Well, that's the thing, is, of course...
That's such a grim thing.
Yeah, well, I'll bet there are like abilities where we can like get the gods to help us, because of course they're major characters in the Iliad.
That's a very obvious, like, in a good way, like that's an obvious
Yeah.
mechanic, like that's very well supported by Greek
Your
mythology.
warriors stand ready
But
to
it's just such a
serve.
like.
They
I
only
feel like
await
every
your
game should have
orders.
that when you're beginning a battle, like in a war. It should
Yeah.
just warn you. Listen, the gods are not taking
Gods
sides
do
on this
not
one.
give a shit
This
right
is-
now.
This is blood and shit and bullets. It's all down to those three factors, and if you can't manage those, nobody's gonna step down from the props department and sort this out for you.
I'm finding this interface very intrusive, actually. Like, a part of it is because I've got it scaled up pretty high, but like it kind of feels like everything's just in the way. And I'm actually like, it's not super easy to see people either, like especially when you're zoomed out this far. Like there's maybe some people here if I don't have them highlighted.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever had that problem in a Total War game.
No, it's not usually.
That's actually
I feel
weirdly
like
an issue.
The ground is way noisier than previous Total War games.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Odd.
maybe that's something that Total Warhammer did.
I got a weird thing to say, but I'm just gonna say it. Like, okay, so the way Total War games represent units by like showing each individual unit fighting each other, I feel like has become less interesting to me the farther the technology has progressed. Like, it was absolutely mind-blowing around in the early 2000s to like be able to send knights into a charge and actually watch each individual knight galloping across the plains. But now in 2020, just like seeing each individual soldier render on the battlefield, I almost feel like the spectacle is no longer interesting. So it would almost be easier to maintain if I just like had like giant blocks on the battlefield, like a sand map you see in a war movie.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, the thing with Total War, the thing that Total War has always done is like it's given each individual person a little bit of AI to like go and do, fighting and stuff. Which again was very impressive, 15 years ago, but now, it's not that big a deal. Also, they really kind of broke it with Empire. And made it like more cinematic, but this led to situations where a lot of like people would just get stuck not doing anything, and you'd have weird edge cases that became clear when they went back to like Melee with the Shogun series. So there's usually a way to make it so that I can diplomatic point of view. There used to be a way that you could make it so that you could see. Wait. Holding down the space bar. Ah, here we go. Can I see more tooltip information so I can see like armor and shit and those stats? It doesn't look like I can. That's annoying.
Just guess. Just hazard a guess.
I mean, these guys are wandering around with clubs and they don't appear to be wearing any armor, so I'm gonna say those guys are probably not big shock troops.
That's probably your sign from the gods that you're not going to win today. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
I haven't checked the ally trails yet. I haven't checked with the Oracle, but you guys got fucking sticks, so I'm just going to hazard a guess that this is not auspicious.
So we got Guards of Troy, which is probably some like big guard infantry, and we've got a swordsman infantry, so I think I'm going to set up our line like this. We'll have...
Swordsman is a really bad sign for infantry. Like, if they've got swords... Like, why? Why do they have swords? Why is that the thing that they have? They should have something else.
There were definitely swords in the Bronze Age, but
Yeah, they have swords, but
I don't
like,
know if
that's
swords
never
were
the
a big
weapon.
thing in Greece, in Anatolia, though. I would think...
It's never the weapon you want to pull out on a battlefield. The sword is like the thing you pull out when everything else has failed. It's
Well, there
like
are
you should
the
have a
Roman
stick with a sharp
legionaries.
bit on the end of it.
Your heroes
Well, yeah, but like the Roman legionaries had other weapons that they would employ. The swords were for like getting down and dirty once the other tactics were sort of burned through.
Right, so this is...
By the way, I should point out, especially as I start to make increasingly ahistorical statements, that basically for this recording session, I made myself a drink, which had like a bunch of booze in it that I would like slowly sip over the course of this recording session, and it's gone. It's just a glass of ice right now. So boy.
Okay, so that's just kind of a rally inspire. Wow, can I not? Do I have to have those toggled in this? Okay, cool, awesome. All right, so that is something that is. I'm just gonna grab everybody and tell them to go here. Not running.
That's my favorite tactic too. That's my favorite stratagem. Everyone go towards the enemy.
So you've got these heroes now. This is something that did in Three Kingdoms and
every
maybe in
natural
Warhammer,
feature
but
may
rather than
conceal an
having, you know,
enemy.
traditionally your
Beware
general would be a
of
general's
unseen
bodyguard
foes.
unit, but it's just Hector out here with his one spear and his shield. I do know how Total War works, thank you.
I like that the guy who's not in a formation has a spear and shield.
So I wonder, like, how dangerous it is to just have Hector just, like, go ham at an entire enemy formation.
I really want to see that in action, now that you mention it.
So.
Andy says, Hector was Eric Bana in the movie, right? I don't know, but what happened to Eric Bana?
I have no idea.
Bana, or whatever. Doesn't look like he's been in much lately. I mean, he's been in things, but, like, not things that I have heard of.
No fire arrows? I feel robbed.
The last movie he's been in that I saw was The Time Traveler's Wife, and I'm not happy that I saw it.
Okay, so they gave missile bonuses back to the, or defense from missiles bonuses back to the forest. That was gone for a couple games.
Wow, that poor dude had kind of a short shelf life.
I thought you were talking about some random person that got killed in the fight. I was like, yeah, he got shot with an arrow.
Oh, no, I don't care about that
See the
guy. I'm
enemy
just talking about
break
Eric
like
Bana, who's
leaves
much more
before
important to me
the
than any single man in this army, apparently.
Wow. That didn't take long for our archers to break that slinger there.
Lieutenant, or possibly Lieutenant Lenko, says, I looked up the Troy movie on Wikipedia and found out it was the 8th highest grossing movie of 2004. Yeah, that movie was a smash. Like, it sort of predated, I think, this HBO trend of just having, like, sexy, naked, historical shows, which is incredibly popular now, and God bless them. But, it was kind of like, I don't want to say revolutionary per se, but like it was a pretty culturally important film that doesn't get a lot of credit these days because it's not especially good. Like, I would never say, oh, you should watch the movie Troy if you haven't seen it yet. Like, it doesn't have anything. It's basically just like an HBO historical sexy naked history show, but condensed down like an hour and 30 minutes and with some pretty decent action set pieces in them. And Brad Pitt was a really good casting for Achilles, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Your hero is under attack.
Yeah, but is he losing or winning? What does the red bar mean?
I think that's his forces, so I think you're winning. You're the guy on the left, right?
This guy, yeah. Their hero left. Rage is apparently for
that seems...
for like abilities or something. It charges ability, so it's like an adrenaline bar or something.
Oh, they got like FGS stuff.
Warriors are losing heart.
That's been in for, well, yeah, I guess that is rather new. Okay.
Christopher said, I watched a single scene of Rome by chance. Of course, it was a boning scene. Odds are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 80% of that show.
What? No, don't just leave Hector to fight the entire formation by himself. Where are you going? Oh, did they break? Oh, crap.
I just finished watching Black Sails, and I'm still not sure to what extent that show is like a representative of the like sexy, naked, sexy historical show genre.
Is close enough to taste.
It's like a weird
Your foe attacks
version.
your flank. Drive them off.
Okay, I do know how to play Total War. Thank you. I'm not a huge fan of
like
the
they did a lot of
interface
research.
changes. So in previous games, they would, you'd see the morale flags here like flashing when they were starting to to get close to fleeing, and then it would turn white when they were broken and they were running away and routing. That's not
it's really
that
weird
way
that
anymore.
That's not happening right now.
Yeah.
That's such an important interface thing that they would get rid of.
I wonder if that's like just a...
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I probably would not have remembered that that was the case, but now that I mention it, that's like...
one. Alright.
Okay, that's like literally the most important part of the interface in a Total War game. Like, knowing at a glance who's near routing and who is routing is pretty much like what determines the end game of any battle.
Well, that's cool. We got like the Greek vase background. We got food. We ate those people. What do we want to do with these people?
No historian has ever confirmed that the Trojans did not participate in mass cannibalism.
There's nothing to deny it. Alright, so we can...
Acoites, more like elotes.
We can ransom them... Oh, okay. We don't have coin, like gold anymore, currency as money, which is actually clever, because currency doesn't exist yet. So food is like gold, I guess, in this particular thing. So if we ransom them, we'll get more food, which are credits. If we murder them all, we'll get plus 8% to our morale of our units. And if we press them into our own army, our units will be replenished by 6%. I think I want to take money.
Valor is rewarded.
Okay, so there are different resources that we must use to produce stuff. That's interesting. I like the art style of this stuff.
Yeah. Ransoming soldiers seems like by far the most merciful thing to do, also.
Yeah, we can take them and put them in iron mines or something. Or, well, there are no iron mines, gold mines.
Warriors lost in battle. This will be a long war, and your adversaries gather in strength.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Maintain 12 units in total. So... Awesome.
Wait, does that old dude who keeps showing up have like a character name, or is it just like, here's the old fellow, this geezer dude, this fossil?
He might. I don't know.
He'd like to tell you how to run his army.
Messages. I'm sure he'll pop up again. I'll see if I can.
Some Norium says perhaps it's Homer, and then Marx in Recreation, oh clever, says it's meant to be Homer.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of just also thinking to myself, oh, it's probably Homer. We're probably missing a really obvious reference here.
Look at the sky here when we zoom in. That's neat. I like the art style of this game. I'm not a huge fan of the interface so far, but the art style's nice.
It does nicely capture the balance between this is a real historical place and this is all made up. It's just the culture and creation of the historical people who did live in this place. Lieutenant Alenko, or possibly Lieutenant Alenko, says the interface seems busy AF. Yeah.
Nope.
That's pretty much just... I mean, like, Total War game interfaces are either busy or useless. There's no middle ground.
So, we're in the eastern portion of Anatolia. Should we talk about history?
Yeah, I mean, that's the stream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The warriors have reached the city. Though they no doubt long for battle, consider it...
We should probably start with Homer, right? I mean, that's kind of the...
Yeah, or the homeboy,
part.
as
So,
people in Greek literature call him.
Yeah, so there's, you know, there's a lot of, let's put it this way. There are a lot of conspiracy theories about, oh, maybe, you know, X historical figure didn't exist, right? Like, popular ones that I've seen lately have been, you know, Shakespeare didn't exist. Oh, Shakespeare could... How could he have written about all these noble court things? Must have been some noble who was using Shakespeare as a pseudonym or something.
Horseshit, of course.
Then, of course, the other one is Jesus didn't exist. Paul made him up, or wasn't referring to a real person or something. Both
also
of these
probably horseshit.
Are very fringe theories. They receive very little to no acceptance in like historical circles and academia itself.
Right. But Homer.
But Homer very well might not have existed. He's living right in the middle of what we call the Greek Dark Age.
Like Shakespeare, we know more about Shakespeare than we know about like most figures in the Elizabethan era, because there's just not a lot of records that, like, even if we have them, they're buried in an avalanche of people's fucking Fuddruckers receipts, essentially, and it's like historians are never going to get around to finding them. But like we can follow a paper trail for Shakespeare because people massively give a shit about him. Homer, like, there's no records of that dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's way back. It's before Fuddruckers, even, if you can imagine that.
It could have been a singular person. The sort of traditional image of Homer as a character we get is like a blind poet living in, you know, the 8th century BCE, or it could have been like a school of poets that was later just assigned, you know, a particular character name, Homer. It's not really clear at all. There's a lot of works that were in the classical period, like, attributed to Homer, that were later determined to be like, no, that's definitely not. Homer didn't write that. For example, the Homeric hymns. Homer didn't write those. Well, he didn't write anything, for one, because there was no writing, because we're in the Greek Dark Age. So the story of the Iliad recalls, probably through folk memory, a time. And you know, this is debated. It may not actually recall real war. We found Troy, but we're not totally sure that there actually was a Trojan War. Maybe, maybe not. But if there was one, it recalls maybe a folk memory of something that occurred back in the 13th, 12th century BCE, when there was the Mycenaean Greek civilization of the Bronze Age that existed, which Mycenae was not actually probably its power base. That was just, you know, the first excavation where it was discovered that there were these, you know, Bronze Age, you know, cities that existed prior to the classical Greece that we know of. And we've learned a lot about this civilization. So they had a writing system that they borrowed from the Minoans of Crete, which I guess is actually in this game somehow. I don't know what they're doing, but so there was the Minoan civilization in Crete that thrived from like 1800 to 1400 BC. They were a maritime trading empire. They probably subjugated the Greek civilization that lived in Greece at the time. But at some point, it appears that the Mycenaean Greeks turned the tables on them. And one of the things that they got after, you know, conquering the Minoans was they developed a writing system based on theirs, which we call Linear B. The Minoan writing system is Linear A. The Minoan writing system hasn't been deciphered. There aren't a lot of documents for it, but we have deciphered the Linear B tablets and discovered that it is a writing system that encodes a very early form of Greek, even earlier than Homer. So there were Greeks living around at the time, and they had a sort of palace economy, palace society. So, you know, aristocrats living in castles, you know, chariots and stuff like that. And they may well have been engaged in a conflict with the Trojans, which was Ilos, well, that was one of the names of the Trojan thing that's mentioned in the Iliad, hence the Iliad, not the Trojan or something. And shortly after the time that the Iliad is dated to, that the Trojan Wars are dated to, there was an event called the Bronze Age Collapse, which wiped out every major civilization in the Eastern Mediterranean. Well, not wiped out, but effectively toppled, you know, the existing governmental structures. Egypt was pretty much the only one that came out of that okay. In Mycenaean Greece, it was so bad that all the palaces were basically destroyed, and everybody forgot how to read and write. And you lose all reading and writing from like 1100 to, I don't remember when the classical writing starts to show up, like sometime around 700 or 600 BCE. And you get a completely different writing system that comes up then, which is the Greeks borrow the Phoenician alphabet. And, Phoenician alphabet is not an alphabet. They borrow the Phoenician writing system, the abjad, and change some of the consonants that don't actually have any corresponding sound in Greek to vowel sounds. And boom, you've got the first alphabet. That is a writing system with consonants and vowels, as opposed to a syllabary that incorporates like syllables instead of letter sounds, or an abjad that is just
we should pick another fight.
Consonants. Yeah, so, where do I have just Hector right now? Am I able to summon more people?
Troy.
Oh.
The world has never
The
known a
Iliad.
city
Oops,
so
all Hector
glorious
edition.
and so full of riches.
Right. I'm trying to... Provinces, let's see. No, that's not useful. Is there no diplomacy screen or something?
The important thing to know, like, about Troy in history and archaeology is that if you're looking up a lot of the important discoveries regarding Troy as a historical, like, archaeological location, and not just kind of speculative historical concept,
Yeah.
a lot of, like, you know, it was, like, kind of found, technically, you could say, like, 150 years ago or so, but a lot of the the really, like, nail in the coffin discoveries are kind of in the last 50 years.
Yeah, well, it was believed to have been a... here we go. Okay. It was believed to have been a legend for a while. You know, the Trojan War was believed to just be something that was made up. And then a family by the name of Falwick, I think, or something. They got some land in Anatolia where they thought there was, the city of Troy might be buried, and they started to excavate, but they didn't really have the money to really do it, and they got this guy named Heinrich Schliemann, who was visiting at the time. He was like some German merchant, to look at it, and offered to let him take over the dig if he'd actually pay for it, basically. And he dug a trench through a big hill and discovered a bunch of different layers of civilization there that turned out to be the citadel of Troy, or probably Troy. And that has changed it considerably. We now believe that there probably was a real Troy and that there was a Trojan War, or may have been a Trojan War. There's a destruction layer that was clearly done by man around like 1184 BC, I think, which fits right into the narrative that, like, you know, the Mycenaeans came in, sacked Troy, and then the Bronze Age collapse happened almost immediately afterwards, and everything just burns down.
Wait, actually, hang on a second. Pause. In this game, is there an indicator of what year BC it is?
I don't see one.
I don't see one either.
Oh, there's the
usually the year is
Relations
right
with
up there in the
foreign powers may
interface.
be managed through diplomacy. Broker.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I respect that since this is taking place within kind of a mythological construct of this period rather than like a strict historical understanding, that they wouldn't bother to signpost it with like a before Christ year signifier,
Right.
like, oh yeah, this is clearly a judgment from outside the context of like the storytelling where we're drawing from here. On the other hand, it does make it. I wonder, like, how you tell how far into the campaign you are.
Do we not have trade agreements anymore?
Praise the gods.
I don't think that button did
I
what thought
really
it
couldn't
would. That was
tell you.
exit.
Ah, Hector, my son.
Just immediately sue for peace with Troy. You are Troy.
Declare war on Troy.
Wait a minute. Like, you're Hector of Troy, but you're speaking to Troy. So how does that work? What are you doing right now?
So that's our dad.
Okay, so we're negotiating with
so-
our dad. Diplomacy with dad.
Yeah. So basically, the way they've broken this up, I think, is that we're these two cities,
Okay.
and we're like very close allies to Troy, but we're not Troy itself.
Make me proud.
So that you can have situations where, like, you know, different, you know, this is Paris's stuff. Different characters can be doing different things and not all be in the same faction. So, Royal Decree... Oh, okay, so this is tech. Toggle overlays. Okay. Oh, I always love trying to figure out how the fucking tech tree works in a new Total War game.
Oh boy.
Oh man, plus 10 to growth. Is that good or bad? How long is this campaign?
Just once I want, like, one of these historical Total War games to put in, like, a research option that's just, like, shitting in a hole instead of on the ground. Just, like, even if it has nothing to do with, like, the actual, like, historical, technological level or societal level of that period, just throw it in there. Like, it should be, like, taking place in the 19th century. Like a 19th century Total War game. So you have to unlock lavatories. And then you take that technology and they're like, oh, thank God.
Was the city named for the guy, Paris, I mean? I don't think so. I actually have no idea what the etymology of Paris is.
I don't know why it wouldn't be named for him, but...
I mean, Paris's name was actually, like, Alexander, so...
Victory!
Okay, it's named from the Parisi tribe, who are, like, the Gallic inhabitants of that area. It's unlikely that the Gallic tribe Parisi was named after Paris.
Yeah. So God, this interface. So let's recruit a new general here. They all seem to cost the same
nobody
amount.
knows why. Basically, no one knows why it's called Paris, because they know it's Gaulish, but they don't know what that means. Like, it could be Cauldron, the Makers, or the Commander. Lord or Commander. Could also just be the Gaulish name for, in a few thousand years, this place will be unusually stinky with regards to, like, the circumstances and the geography.
Yeah. Let's do...
Hey!
Polygoras. Oh, we'll increase our upkeep by a significant percentage.
Yes, Strategos said, the Strategos says, man, it's nice that we have the Strategos in the chat here, because
the only one
really is like a rock we could depend on here. Apparently the upkeep for multiple armies is really draconic, which, if we can get a dragon in here, I'd say that's the war over, so I'd say go for it.
Yeah, so, even if the upkeep really sucks, I think, it's worth it to have 2 generals instead of 1. I can manage with 2 generals in a lot of situations, but I don't want to just have 1 dude. So let's get a couple of skirmishers and a swordsman.
I've never made good use of skirmishers in a Total War game. I think that there must be something I'm missing with how you employ them.
So they're good to you can do kind of 2 things with them. You can either you can, if you have more skirmishers than the enemy, you can, you know, sit your skirmishers there, fight off the enemy's skirmishers, and then do damage to their forces. Or you can use them to initially do damage as the enemy advances, and then send them around the flanks and fire into the back of the enemy, and they'll do a lot more damage than they would trying to fire through your troops. They can actually do friendly fire if you have them firing at an enemy a unit that's engaged with a unit of your faction, if they're behind that unit from your faction, so...
Ass slapping.
Yeah, alright, so the good news is we're fighting a defensive battle here, so we can kind of decide where we want to sit all of our troops. This hill looks good. Is this... So, this will provide a nice area that they can't get up to, and they'll either have to come around this way or come around this way. That's what we're going to kind of set up here. The Guards of Troy sitting kind of in the front here with Hector. Skirmisher's going to go here, and he's going to kind of sit up on that bluff there and fire at them. Well, actually, they'll probably fire at them from the forest for protection, but we've got the Trojan warriors. They'll hang out on this flank. Okay. Where's my swordsman?
The Strategos has left further divine wisdom in our chat and said, chariots are moderately overpowered, archers and javelins very strong. Hector's gets solid gold chariots and archers, but ironically his brother gets much better ones.
Of course. Paris, the guy renowned for being good at fighting.
Yeah, we basically picked... It's like the ultimate warrior of the Parisian story. Paris! The guy that everyone remembers when they're thinking about, like, man, who in the Trojan War could really whip ass? I think Paris is the name that comes to mind for some reason. Some guy told me that one time there's like a bazillion Greeks there, and Paris just like jumped out, said nothing. Personnel, kid, and then he teleported behind an entire rank, and he kicked the guy in the back, and he fell over, and he knocked over everybody in the front rank, and then he like just like threw a fucking javelin, and the wind just picked it up, and the gods were like through everybody's necks, and they like jumped up the air, and he Hadouken, and he just like Hadouken the fucking entire army, and it was so badass. Who told you that? I think it was Paris. I believe that was Paris. And then he got on a skateboard, and he skateboarded down the steps of the fortress and fired his bow into the necks of all the Trojan soldiers. Then he climbed an elephant.
As the battle progresses, the hero's rage grows. The foe has sighted your hidden units.
I'm not going to say that Orlando Bloom is underrated, because he has several very high-profile roles, and because, you know, he has a type of role he excels at. I guess I will say that we have not made our best use of the Orlando Bloom character acting that the world had to provide us.
Yeah, I mean, I like Orlando Bloom and a lot of the stuff that he's in.
He's good in many roles that he's been cast in.
Skirmishers a lot. Pretty bad. Unit losing. What are you?
That seems like I'm checking the strategy rulebook, and I don't think losing was in there.
Heart.
Come on. Slam him back up. There we go.
In October 2011, Bloom stated that he would like to return for a fifth Pirates of the Caribbean film. Yeah, I'll bet he would. True Soul Lesha says, Loki, this is mostly making me miss Age of Mythology. I also miss Age of Mythology. I didn't get too into the Atlantis expansion, which this is most reminiscent of because, I mean, you know, fake places, but not actually fake places. I guess Troy's not a fake place, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I don't mind that this game is, like, very obviously pulling from mythology much more than it's pulling from, like, you know, any kind of history.
I mean, at some level, a historical game in this period would be wank. I mean, it's just like they're just coming up with what they figure the history is.
Yeah,
They would just have to pirate history from other sources.
There's not a lot of
like
information
from other, like, cultures
about what really happened, if there even indeed was an actual Trojan War. Where'd my archers go? Oh, they ran. What the fuck? Where do these guys come from?
Victory is closer. No mortal can fight without tiring.
Yeah, I know how they get tired, then...
Subdorium says Young Spears. Is that a unit that I haven't noticed? It's named Young Spears.
That's the unit right here.
God, that's like the worst. Actually, no, I take it back. That's not even a bad rap name. That's pretty decent.
Alright, we win. The question I have here is, do we automatically calculate casualties that we would have inflicted by routing all these guys and then chasing them down, or is it like older games where you would actually want to chase them down and kill them? Is that what we're doing right now?
I don't know. That's a good question. Perhaps the spirit of Strategos will descend.
This is actually
and
often
bless us with
how
wisdom.
How battlefield casualties actually happen. Is in typical organized order of battle, people wouldn't generally die too often on either side. It would be when one side starts running and the entire line breaks and just leaves, because, you know, when you're in the middle of a battlefield and the guy next to you that's supposed to be covering your left or right just chucks his spear and runs, you're probably not going to stand around and wait for the entire enemy army to show up. And that's often how routes happen. And then the actual casualties would be caused by, like, chasing down the routing enemies and killing them. That was the original, aside from scouting, the original purpose that cavalry was developed for. It wasn't until later that cavalry became, like, a battlefield unit in its own right. Like, you wouldn't generally be able to just charge with early cavalry against, like, a spear wall or whatever. So let's decisive victory there.
Like Nicholas Lloyd, who has very interesting opinions on a very narrow selection of military-related topics, apparently he looked into like arranging fight, like sort of like simulated combats, and study to what extent like people ran,
right,
and like what caused people to rout. And kind of the theory that emerged was the idea that, like, people rout primarily when something they didn't expect happens. Like, when something that they were counting on disappears. Like, when your cover isn't there, when the enemy's coming from a weird perspective. Like, yeah, that's kind of like what gets you to lose your courage and run. Because at this point, all bets are off. You don't really understand what's going on anymore.
Not win this war. Issue a decree ordering your finest minds to research new methods of warfare, lest others overtake you.
Okay, so
not all who serve you give their best. Here we see one whose lack of motivation makes them of limited use, perhaps even a liability.
This is new.
Action must be taken to remedy this.
Let's see.
So Hector is just sort of negging our units right now.
No, it's not Hector, I think.
Homer, rather. Homer.
Homer, yeah.
I'll win.
How do I see his motivation? Oh, are we going to compete with Paris to be named heir?
Ooh, that's a bit of intrigue. You just know that, like, in the TV show version of this, about half of that would be settled while sweaty and naked.
Right.
Show your courage.
Okay, we should be able to just take this city now.
Let's go for it. I did promise a Bioshock Infinite anecdote, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so gameplay-wise, Bioshock Infinite was not a very fun game. I think that's not too many people really deeply
Why are
disagree
you?
with that.
That's ridiculous, Red Sky. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, it's not very fun. Except there is a perk system in the game which barely matters because you get items kind of loosey-goosey style. So it's not like you can really like strive for a build in particular. It's just kind of it's a little bit luck of the draw. By the way, I'm talking strictly mechanically when I say it's not fun. Like, the storyline really falls deeply apart. Just deeply, deeply apart. But was there any aspect of Bioshock Infinite that was good, says Lieutenant or possibly Lieutenant Alenko? No, there was not an aspect of Bioshock Infinite that was good. I would say the graphics, pretty much, basically are okay, actually.
Yeah.
Some of the companion stuff could have been a lot worse and was kind of interesting. There we go. That's our nice thing about Bioshock Infinite. And the half-nice thing I'll say is...
will go down in
So I got a mixture of items that... Okay, so first I had an item which made it so that I could engage in the melee finisher at a much longer range. And then next, I got an upgrade which made it so that I did much more damage in melee. And then finally I got an upgrade which made it so that melee kills gave me a little extra health and like stuff, you know? They kind of replenished me a bit. And everybody's like, Bioshock Infinite, its combat sucks. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm actually having some fun with it. And yeah, so that was that. And then like 5 years later, I played Doom 2016. And I'm like, oh, that's why it was fun for me. Because I accidentally got a collection of items which turned the game to Doom 2016. Stubwater says, music? Yeah, okay, so Bioshock Infinite's like songs that are like antique versions of modern songs. Like that's kind of like the anachronistic soundtrack was good. The rest of it, can you recall the combat music of Bioshock Infinite right now? I sure as fuck can.
I can't recall.
I think it was just like lots of loud noise. I remember only the songs which are like, here's a modern song done with old-timey instruments and sensibilities. Like, I think that was really smart, actually. I think that was well done, and whoever did it deserves praise. Possibly more praise than any other member of the development team. I think, like, my favorite memory of Bioshock Infinite is that, like, I played through the whole thing, and then I found out that everybody really likes this one scene where Booker plays guitar, and so I got through like half the game, and I got to that part where like I found the guitar, and I start playing it, and Elizabeth starts singing along, and an urchin shows up, and then she feeds the urchin an orange. She just picks up off a railing, like it's a Disney movie, and she's like, "Oh, feeding the poor, compassion," except it's not her orange. She just picked it up, and then afterwards, I finished playing guitar, and I ate all three other oranges. Because I needed to recharge my bars, and that was when I stopped playing Bioshock Infinite for the last time.
Prey was so much a better game than Bioshock Infinite.
Oh, 100%.
What is
Prey? I never finished Prey. In fact, I didn't even get very far into it. It didn't grab me for some reason, but I thought that was a pretty well designed game.
Yeah, I have issues with the ending of that game. I think it really does a massive disservice to everything in it, but it was the immersive sim that actually managed to do immersive sim stuff in, the modern period, modern video games, as opposed to like Bioshock, Bioshock 2, Bioshock Infinite. They all had they all like simplified it a bit too much and made it too shooter-y. Which is not to say that Prey doesn't have a lot of shooting in it, but I felt like it did better with the other mechanics. So, sorry, I'm just kind of getting a look at like what is even. That might not be a bad idea to put that in there, or maybe we should. What is influence?
That's a good question.
How do I see? It's not happiness.
I think
Okay.
influence might just be yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's. I think it's like culture. All right. So farms
right.
sound good with high influence. It gives bigger bonuses and it doesn't affect anything else. So. Temples are cool. Let's see, Hera,
Right. God is cool.
Zeus,
The gods are nice.
Ares, Apollo, Athena, Poseidon, or Aphrodite.
You know, normally you just say like, oh well, obviously the god of war, but any one of these gods could completely fuck up our day. So it is a crapshoot when you get right down to it. Ares or Athena are the obvious choices, just from like knowing absolutely nothing about this game's strategies.
It's melee defense.
Andy Panther says, I could never get my head around the strategy layer of Total War. I would say big same. The last time I did get seriously into the games was when I was a teenager, though, so I could optimistically say that, you know, if I tackled them nowadays, I could somehow break down what's going on, but I don't think that's actually likely. Okay, the Strategos has written a manuscript, a monogram, which has been passed down by the ancestors and reads, bring up the god screen in the upper left, building temple buffs god influence that gives bonuses.
Where do I find God?
Okay. Upper left, apparently. Where do you find God?
Yeah.
Evidently, it's in the upper left.
Treasury, no. Faction leader. This is very Crusader Kings having a faction leader over here.
Divine Will is apparently what it's called. So you just passed over it. I did just watch you pass over it.
All right, so this is the cult levels. Green gods. Watch over the statue and his people. Oh, the green gods. It's the gods of the Green Party? Okay. Hecatomb. Right. So
It'd be cool if you could just like grab a bunch of Mediterranean cults that have just been hanging around here, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go with the indie pick. Fuck the entire Roman pantheon. We're just gonna like find some random cult full of people who've been smoking this weird herb that is now extinct, and that like worship this god of like complete chaos and partying. We're just gonna get down with them and nobody else, and we're gonna see where that gets us.
let's do Athena. I like spear units.
Yeah, I when I think about like fighting and actually winning instead of just fighting because you want to fight, I think about Athena. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why I said Roman. Obviously, this is a loose interpretation of the Greek pantheon.
Right.
Although I don't know too much about the timeline of when gods get added to the Greek pantheon, when they kind of emerge and disappear. I feel like Dionysus probably was not a part of the pantheon right now. Like Dionysus, if anything, would be the weird cult I was talking about.
Yeah, I believe Dionysus was like he came into, you know, prominence rather late. In
apparently 7th century BC was when he was firmly established.
Right.
When he went mainstream, when he sold out. Previously, it was just a bunch of punks in punk flops who were playing Dionysus records and smoking hash.
Okay, that's a neat. I like that system that they've got here for this. Better than the last one.
To victory!
So this guy has low motivation. His motivation is 2. How do we increase that? He hates Danaans.
Well, let's bring him some Danaans and he could like
That's
tell them
the,
off, and that will increase his
I
motivation.
believe that's the Greeks, or the Greek League that attacks. Are we actually at war with anybody?
Troy, occasional war.
Yeah. Troy, sometimes you're not fighting. Who knows? Alright.
Troy, totally miffed.
Armed and ready.
Recruit a few more people here. Another
All
swordsman.
good.
Andy Panther says, how can anyone hate Nan? I don't know. Oh, right. Danan. He hates Danan. Okay, yes. Yeah, Nan is delicious, but I will say that a friend coworker of mine, actually Arvin from Unrest, he came to the U.S. once and he discovered that I had some Nan in my freezer, and he's just like, don't eat too much of that stuff.
So you apparently are at war
like,
with someone on Lesbos, but...
To him, it's basically like he opened up my bread pantry, and it was just nothing but Wonder Bread.
Yeah. Alright, we have completed that. We got some food and
Do
bronze.
not neglect the development of your towns and cities, for many benefits accrue. No
already doing
kingdom
that.
flourishes and endures through military conquest alone. Grow and maintain your settlement through...
Faf Strike says,
upgrade
by the way, it's
something.
pronounced
Healthy
Dana-ons,
growth in a province
which may or may
leads
not
to
be
the
how
expansion of your
I've
cities
intended to pronounce that
and
from
it
how it's written,
increases
which is kind of the rub
benefits
here,
they
isn't it?
bring. The populace thrives here.
The Stratego says Danaans, which sounds about right. If somebody said that in historical drama, I would not flinch.
So, how do I make Priam like me more?
That's one for Yahoo Answers, I feel like.
Commandment available. What the fuck is a commandment?
When you have no answers to a particular question, and also just in general in your life, you turn to Yahoo Answers. And you kind of share in their mutual lack of answers.
Oh, okay, so these must be like edicts from Rome too. Growth is pretty high already. Recruitment cost.
Oh man, I just brought up Yahoo
let's
Answers
do that.
because I haven't actually gone to that website in forever, and like, like 5 of the top 6 questions have everything to do with American politics specifically. Oh my god, this is... Oh god, so many of these fucking things.
Yeah.
Like, some of these are just, like, not even questions. They're literally, like, just propaganda for a particular political faction. I'm not in the politics section. I'm just like, this is just the top of the barrel.
Yes.
If politics is not out of the question, says Marks and Recreation, does anyone care about the Epic Store controversy? I feel like yes. I feel like, okay, let's be honest. I feel like the people who care about the Epic Store controversy a lot are not interested in politics per se. I think that they actually just, like, have kind of picked Steam as their horse, and have come up with all kinds of, like, political confabulations as to why they are mad about another storefront appearing.
Yeah.
It's just the console wars with the flimsiest political justification retroactively applied.
Or are we talking about the whole thing with Apple and Epic?
Oh, well, that's not politics. That's just like that's just a pissing contest
Yeah.
between two corporations.
How do I make
Oh,
you
Zenith
happy
asks, what is
with
Rootsgarden
me?
looking at? Yahoo
Troy's
Answers.
words
It is, again, it is a website for people with no answers to ask for answers from people with no answers. It's where you ask a question and the void mutters in response. Like, there's a bunch of categories here, so I'm just going to go to beauty and style. A person asks, I just turned 26 and I'm starting to fear old age. I've never had this fear before, but now I'm starting to think about it more and therefore start to fear it. I freaked out when I read that skin starts to age. Can anybody relate with me on this? Answer. You are Vade yourself, you anonymous scum. Go show your face if dare, and let's see if you are good looking. I bet you aren't. Real shit, I bet nobody wants your ugly face either, you incel. I cannot stress enough how not helpful this website is if you have any sincere questions. It's just kind of like a medium for people to gibber at one another.
Help, how do I make the overlays go away?
Strategos solemnly says, with regards to strategy in this game, that overlay is the worst. The worst. I can't get rid of it either. Zoom in or
Apparently
out.
it went away when I zoomed in, yeah.
Lieutenant, or possibly Lieutenant Lenko says, wait, Ruts, why are you engaging in online self-harm? I'm lost. Well, part of it is because that I cannot really directly participate, and Josh is navigating the labyrinth of this game's interface. Like, my engagement with this game is almost as limited as yours. I can talk through a microphone instead of talking to him through the chat, but otherwise it's about that disconnected. The other reason is, I mean, the same reason everyone stares into the void. The void looks really pretty.
Defender of Troy.
Okay, done with that. I don't get it. How do I make Dad like me more? It just keeps giving me notifications that he likes Paris.
Anonymous asks, what other food should I ban? Great start. So far, I have eliminated all meat and fish, all cooked fats and oils, butter, lard, olive oil, coconut oil, etc. All dairy, eggs, bread, pasta, noodles, rice, cereals, all sugar and sugar-based foods, all salt, all fruits, underground vegetables such as carrots, onions, potatoes, etc., windy vegetables, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, sprouts, nuts, pulses, legumes, beans, peas, etc., tea, coffee, and all caffeine, all alcohol.
What is left?
Okay, I'm allowed to ask this. Like, but literally, yes, what is left? Like, normally when people talk about diet, I'm like, it's crass to just ask, like, oh, what's left? Because, you know, there's probably plenty of stuff. This list, I actually literally am not sure what it remains that is digestible by a human stomach.
And keep the foe at bay.
So George says I don't need any. He doesn't says I don't need any carbs. Carbs cause heart disease. It is a proven fact that grains are evil and cause all the health problems we're seeing today.
Ah, yes.
Patricia apparently speaks facts. Sugar causes cancer. Any sugar, fructose is a sugar, and it's fructose. Therefore, fruit is cancer, causing junk food and to be avoided. And finally, I eat plenty. I eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, and sometimes I fast for a week. But when I get hungry, I eat rocks. I eat sticks that don't look like they contain any natural cellulose, which is to say I don't eat sticks. I just think about it sometimes. Yes, I guess humans are counted as meat and fish, so we can rule out cannibalism. I see Shanty of Sorts says, yeah, that's one of those posts probably fake. Yes, a lot of these posts are fake. The grand question is why? Like, if you're gonna troll, is Yahoo... I guess Yahoo Answers is a pretty good place to troll, because posts like this just kind of slide right in. People respond. It's kind of like... Almost the best way to troll is when you have something that makes you look really stupid, but you can be guaranteed that the people replying to you also do not possess many of the facts. Like, that's kind of the perfect storm, if you think about it. I want to stress also that, like, with that last post, it wasn't like I was searching for a really dumb one. That was actually the first one. That was, like, the first one I clicked on. Like, I brought up food and drink, and I just, like, clicked on one of the, like, newer posts that came in, and that was just it.
What do these do? Oh, neat. Let's attach you to...
You will feel the gods on your side.
Yeah.
Talk me through what's going on the actual game here.
Okay, so
that
I've,
you could pry
I've
me
sent our
away
low
from my-
motivation guy over here to attack
That's beyond me.
Midolini. And then I'm building up
Funny things.
Hector's forces a bit more, and we're going to go to Eresus on the other side of the island the next turn or two. I've also hired a priestess who's going to give me the ability to do pre-battle sacrifices, so that's fun.
Fun
Beware.
indeed.
The
Oh.
enemy brings reinforcements to the battle. If you commit to the fray, you will be facing threats on multiple
Bullshit
fronts.
that the entire settlement garrison can come with you. Alright, bye. No, you should have jumped into boats, dude. What are you doing? Oh, come on!
Beware, the enemy brings reinforcements. Oh, this looks very winnable. Perhaps even the the perfect ending to the stream. Are you ready? Are you ready to go down in glory?
Oh.
This is the moment the whole Trojan War turns around right now. Victory is forever traded back and forth between
Beware,
men, says
for
Homer
the
the
enemy may
Iliad.
have concealed themselves
I don't
amongst the
suppose I
trees.
can... No, I can't put them up
Keep
there.
your wits about you.
Well, Mom says it's his turn with the victory.
What if we could lure him into here?
I haven't figured out what's left. Like with the food post. Like I have not figured out what else there is.
At your command. Armed and ready. For Troy. To warriors.
Like somebody says, so all you eat is tofu, but tofu's legume,
That.
right? Like soybeans.
What did I do? Was that tab that did that? Okay.
The enemy is receiving reinforcements. Enemy reinforcements have been sighted. Now you must fight on two fronts.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, they're right behind the actual enemy army, so... Man, I wish I had pikes. Those could really turn something like this around.
Take care. You are losing ground.
Shut up. Nothing's happened yet. Well, if you want more history talk, Strategos, something I didn't get into is the other historical evidence we have for potentially the Trojan War in Troy and
Oh, do tell.
the Mycenaean Greeks. So, the big badass empire on the block in the region was the Hittite Empire, which was sort of situated in central and eastern Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, and it controlled lands that went down into Syria and the Levant. In fact, they were the big enemy that Ramses II of Egypt fought a massive battle in I think the northern Levant, what would now be like Lebanon, and just barely pulled out a win, and ended up just kind of making a treaty where, you know, the Egyptians controlled the southern half and the Hittites controlled the northern half. And there's a number of records that we have that make reference to a vassal king of Wilusa, which might be the Hittite transliteration of Ilos, which is Troy. And they reference the king of Wilusa, who I believe it was something like Alexandru or Alexadnu, which might be Alexander, which might actually be Paris, given that his birth name was supposedly Alexandros. Additionally, they also wrote some correspondence to a king of Ahiyawa, which corresponds with the word that Homer used for the Mycenaean Greeks, or well, for the Greeks in his epic, which was he mostly used the word Achaean. So if you take apart the word Ahiyawa to just Ahiya, that sounds like it's a pretty close match. So it could be that that they were referring to the Trojan War. They mentioned something regarding a fight with the Wilusa, and so they very well may be talking about the Trojan War, and this was around the same time period that everything else is dated to. So I don't think there's it's totally agreed upon by historians, but it's definitely something that seems like a good educated guess. You don't really have a lot of documentary evidence at this time, and it's nice to have the Trojans. The Linear B tablets that we have, the Greek writing from the time period, they're mostly like inventories of what the palace has. Workers and materials and stuff like that. They're not like literary stuff by and large. But the Hittites have a number of tablets that do include like political correspondence and everything. So they're a good source for this period. The Hittite Empire is one of the ones that just kind of disintegrates in the wake of whatever the heck happens with the Bronze Age collapse. And they're not actually the same Hittites that you hear about in the Bible. The Hittites that are referred to in the Bible are somewhat later. The historical events that the Bible's talking about are like the Kingdom of Israel kind of events are like 9th century BCE. The Exodus is dated to a bit earlier than that, but there was a lot of reason to believe that the Exodus didn't actually occur.
Your hero is under attack.
Oh no, they're shooting arrows or spears or something at my hero. Oh boy. Oh, they are just massacring them. Yeah, this is not gonna work.
Your warriors have been
No. It's just like a lot of white lines.
Oh, they're all running.
Apparently somebody somewhere has routed, not that you can tell by the interface.
It's all those guys. You're all gonna get killed, but I need you to flank these guys. Actually,
Lieutenant or possibly Lieutenant Alenko says, are RTS games indie by default these days? Has there been a non-indie RTS?
Command & Conquer remake.
That's indie these days.
Well, I mean, it's EA.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
They
There's a
worked
publisher
with
behind
Petroglyph
it, but
because that's basically the remnants of of Westwood, but
Yummy Chicken Blue says, I thought Total War was bigger than indie. That's actually an interesting question. Like, yeah, you would probably say that, like, okay, this studio's been around long enough, and they have a deep enough war chest that, like, it's hard to really consider these games indie, but they're also, I don't think that they have, like, as high a profile relative to the field as they did when they were first coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in the PC releases of the early 2000s, like, late 90s, like, a game like Total War could be, like, one of the relative blockbusters. These days, no, it's not going to be the blockbuster. It's, like, the same people are playing Total War now who played it then, and that's currently not a very large portion of the market. And considering that when you consider, you would count inflation, like, PC game sales have decreased a lot. Like, the cost of a game is no longer nearly as high as it used to be, factoring in inflation.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
these are no longer, like, blue-chip games.
Oh, this is bad. Let's watch our hero. Where'd he go? Oh, is he dead?
Yeah, double A.
Oh, he's done.
Double A is a pretty good way of saying it. Like, well, let me put it this way: a Total War game is never going to get sunk because, like, a couple employees had to quit. Like, a couple employees quitting from Creative Assembly will not throw their studio into turmoil.
Why is he not dead? Wait, we're still alive?
Apparently.
Wait, you can change stance? Was there a word for that? Cool. Yeah. Touched by Deimos. So,
I'll have to refuse.
where'd he go? Oh, did he pop back here?
Yeah, like Artem says, Creative Assembly has 700 plus employees per Wikipedia. Like, compare that to, like, even like Skyrim or like Fallout. Like, those are AAA games, but like they have like a couple hundred people, if that,
Yeah.
for their studios.
Okay, so the hero also counts as a unit for the purposes of unit calculating. So, okay,
That's it. It says they have 700 employees, but like,
No.
something about me makes me doubt that that is really a useful number.
So is he just gonna reappear here next turn, or what?
Apparently, he went to into the recruitment pool again, and he'll be at the bottom of it.
Oh, I see.
I think what defines a AAA franchise is, that's actually a good question. What does define a AAA franchise?
I'll make it happen.
Like, cause is the intended audience size part of what makes a game AAA? Like, people, they make Total War games, and they're like, okay, we've got a very dedicated core audience
Not
that
a
will
chance.
absolutely buy this, but we're probably not going to get an impulse purchase from
Foreign
someone who plays 2 video
emissaries
games a
seek a
year.
pact of
And I feel like
non-aggression.
that's kind of what the AAA
If
bar
their offer
is.
is acceptable, it may lead to improved trade relations or even a
Like,
formal
AAA
alliance.
games are games that, like, you would buy as your game of, like, the season.
We're also kind of dealing with the fact that AAA games in general are so big and expensive that there's barely any of them being released in a year now.
Yeah, which, like, yeah.
315. How much bronze do we have? Well, we have a lot of bronze. No, I'm not. No. Single barter 0. No. Nuke that. All right.
According to the Wikipedia page, an actual term that real humans use to describe games is triple I, which is to say indie games that have an analogous quality level in terms of relative budget, scope, and ambition. And it cites as examples Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice and The Witness. Have you ever heard a game referred to as triple I?
No.
Literally never.
Why is it nighttime? What determines that?
In Troy's defense.
Yeah, this would not be described precisely as a triple I game because, again, it's EA, but...
Got a mission with an objective of 6. We can wait one more turn for that.
Boy, I've fallen down a Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Yeah,
In this
sounds like
stolen
it.
moment. Wait. Guitar Praise is a Christian rhythm video game for PC. Developed by Digital Praise, it uses contemporary Christian music with gameplay akin to that of the Guitar Hero and Rock Band games, although it is only compatible with its own wired and cordless USB guitar controllers. It had a bespoke USB guitar controller. While the game does not contain a mode for vocals, it does display the song's lyrics on screen.
What the hell is that?
That was Judgment, which is my ringtone. Don't judge. It also supports online leaderboards, but the website is currently down. It's a very delicate way of putting that, Wikipedia. The website is currently down.
Did we not just sign a non-aggression pact with that guy?
Reception. The game was well received in both Christian and non-Christian gaming reviews. Was it?
The splendor of your settlements reflects
Was it
your
received
growing
well in
reputation.
non-Christian gaming reviews?
Fully develop your capital, and it will project your majesty the length and breadth of the known world.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Go away.
Your people suffer
Oh.
at the hands of enemy raiders. Send out warriors to deal with these miscreants.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, okay.
Stop controlling my camera.
Go ahead. So here's their source for the game is received well by non-Christian sources. Some non-Christian gaming outfits were also impressed with the game. Tracy John of MTV's multiplayer blog wrote that the game is no doubt a slick and surprisingly competent Guitar Hero knockoff aimed at the gameplay and Christian market, and noted that the game stayed true to its market instead of attempting to reinvent the genre. So basically they're saying it's a carbon copy. Like, that was the actual text of that review.
So these guys signed a non-aggression pact with us and then sent a raiding army into our territory, is what I'm getting from this. How is that? Why is that not immediately break the non-aggression pact? Okay, so...
This is very sad. I'm sad to say that none of the Christian websites which reviewed this game still exist. Ladle says it pairs well with Christian Mario Party. Now, see, I know about a Christian Mario Party, and I'm really curious whether you're talking about the same one or not.
And might.
Hector of the Shimmering Hell.
How do I change your stance?
Christopher asks a very important theological question, which is, who is the Christian Waluigi?
I've been Prince Hector.
That's one for the biblical scholar. Artem says Judas, but no, that's not right.
No.
That can't be right. I feel like, there's literally only one human being on the planet who's qualified to answer this question, and that's Scott Benson.
Control of every settlement in a province will give you complete dominion
Everybody
over
asks
all who
Scott,
live there.
don't actually do this.
Expand
Everybody asks,
your
don't actually ask
holdings
Scott
and
Benson
bring more of the
who
Aegean
Christian
under your
Waluigi
heel.
is. Like, I feel like he'd
Commandments may
be
be
amused by that
declared
question,
in
but maybe not if
provinces
like 8
that you
different
rule.
people ask.
Issue your instruction and rouse the populace so they may better serve you.
Why did I not win this? Alright, whatever.
No, it's not Joseph, because Joseph would be Luigi. Like, if anything, Christian Waluigi would be one of Joseph's brothers.
I fight for my city.
A rival power proposes a change in your relationship. Their offer may merit some consideration.
No. Absolutely not. Go away.
Ladle says, I had no idea there was an actual
No.
Christian Mario Party. It's the Bible game. So Wonder says you're assuming Mario is Jesus. Yeah, I guess I was assuming that
Whew,
Mario
alright,
was
so this is
Jesus.
gonna
I
be
don't
the
know
end
what,
of the
if anything,
stream
that says
battle
about me.
here. Look at all this shit.
Alright. Thank God.
I wonder if we'd be able to get the garrison out of here. Nah. Just go fight. Okay, so we got a bunch of skirmishers here. No, 2. And, alright. So, I like that there are now features on the landscape that are not just, you know, flat. Like, oh, we got this mountain here. Can't put anybody on the mountain, but the mountain's cool. Not a huge fan of the fog, though. Let's kind of get right up against the mountain here. Might be. Depends on. Okay, so they've got. Oh no, their reinforcements are all coming from basically the same side. If they were coming from different sides, we could like catch one of them and kill them before the before they could swing anybody around. But
Yeah, I wish I had any tactical insights to offer you, but I 100% do not.
and then we'll put our skirmishers out in front of our line here. All right.
The enemy is receiving reinforcements.
Yeah, no kidding. Whoa, that's causing some lag. Yeah, I'm liking this game so far. It's interesting. I don't really know how well like it works as a long-term Total War title, but on the other hand, I don't mind. You know, it looks like this campaign is probably shorter than your typical like big Rome 2 campaign, and I don't really mind that. There are some mechanics that are not very well explained, and there's definitely some some real serious UI growing pains here, but you know, overall, I think this is pretty cool.
Trained for war.
Okay. This way as well.
At your command. Knocked and ready.
He's open fire.
Swords. Trained for war. Swords.
Not really doing much to prevent us from just overrunning them.
That's good, I guess. Unless that's just what they wanted us to do.
State your orders.
Your warriors have spotted hidden foes.
For Troy. They will Hector.
And our skirmishing has pretty much wrecked their initial army here.
Fantastic. I guess skirmishers are good for something. Hey, that's a nice payoff for that little tangent.
It does feel like they're more powerful now.
All I was able to get skirmishers to do in any Total War game I played was briefly annoy the enemies and then permanently die.
Why are they fiery? What does that mean?
Lieutenant or possibly Lieutenant Lenko says, can you do crazy strikes like lighting bonfires to make sure it seems like there's more of you in these games? Generally,
Probably not,
no.
no.
Generally, they're like, your strategy is very constrained to the mechanics that exist and is not really like expanded with narrative.
Problem I'm having again is trying to work out who is who on this thing. We are going to need to move all of you guys back over here. And let's get you guys back into formation.
This seems like a good venue for asking this question. Anybody in the chat who's into war games? Do you know a good miniatures game for like Age of Sail combat? Something I've been looking into lately. And like the wargaming scene is not like appreciably larger than it was in, I don't know, 1974. Like the historical wargaming scene. Like Warhammer became its own thing and then like some of them sort of bled over into Iron Kingdoms or whatever. But like the people who play Napoleonic war games while wearing a shako are pretty much the exact same people who play Napoleonic war games while wearing a shako now.
Your warriors
Yeah.
are losing heart.
Get you guys out of here. Go do something.
It's kind of crazy. It's like, you know, you look at tabletop role-playing games or like some of the more popular recent war games like Warhammer, like that have fantasy elements, and you look at their miniatures, you're like, holy shit, like really miniature molding and crafting technology has come so far. You know, if you look at a model made today versus even a model made like 20 years ago, there's so much leaps and bounds in terms of fidelity, of craftsmanship, materials, processing, like mass production. Like mass-produced models look better than bespoke models from back in the day, and like the bespoke models look fantastic. They paint really well, and like there's all sorts of like they take primer amazingly. And then you look at like a Napoleonic miniature. This is exactly the same ugly ass miniature some dude in 1970 was using.
Yeah.
It's like a little goblin with a fucking mutton chops.
Your warriors are rallying.
Dude, yeah, the interface for this is just real. It's really hard to tell what the hell's happening right now. Like, look at this. What does this look like to you?
One of your units has no more
I don't know.
ammunition.
No, it looks like Red's winning, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they are, but, you know, I can't see the units that I'm maneuvering. Like, this helps a bit, but this is holding down the spacebar, which is not what I'd like to be doing.
Your warriors have been routed.
Like, that one's off doing it. Where's the rest of this group? What are you doing back there? Go attack! Come on!
And he says, this is where more abstraction would actually be helpful. Yeah, that's about right, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is somehow less legible than, like, medieval Total War was.
Oh, medieval Total War was much more legible than this right now. Like, it's kind of the problem I've had with, like, bigger What are you doing? Oh, their stupid fucking skirmish mode is...
I mean, you were sort of talking about this, about how, like, it's harder to tell the individual troops apart from, like, all the noise on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, you know, obviously the moral arc of this game is always towards increased realism and fidelity.
What are you doing?
But on sub-level, even, like, Rome Total War 1, like, having these chunky paper crafts mushing around, like, a flat, matte, battlefield.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to tell what's going on because everybody looks like they're made out of tree trunks.
Hector! Set! See me shine!
Yeah, apparently one of my main units, one of my main infantry units, routed a unit and they just chased it off into fucking nowhere. It's really helpful. Is there a way to... Nope. There was a... That doesn't tell me much. There was a button to allow... Was it hold space? Yeah, okay. Character auras. Oh, well, all that's on. It's only in tactical mode. Well, that's shit. Like...
Yeah. I should offer you some degree of advice.
What is your advice?
No, I wish I could offer you advice,
yeah.
but all I can tell you is, okay. Have you tried cutting out legumes, meat, any fruits or anything that's carcinogenic, sugars, and coffee from your diet?
No. Although I don't think anybody right now is drinking coffee here in the 1200s BC.
Just snack it on potato chips, spiced with chili oil. A little bit of
Maybe
chocolate on the
Hector
side.
alone can kill everyone.
Attack! For my city!
Maybe. We have not yet explored the idea that Hector is just gonna be able to kill everybody. Is that Agamemnon or something?
No, it's...
I only asked
Minoan.
because he's wearing a... Okay, I only asked because he's wearing a lion helm, which I understand is indicative of so many characters, but for some reason Agamemnon is like associated with that a lot. Despite the fact that like,
Yeah.
double check here. Yes. Yeah. Okay. It would be weird for him to be here, considering he's like the leader of the Greek army.
Yeah, that would be unusual, yes.
So Zena says, if you take out anything carcinogenic, that can mean a lot of things. Yeah, so the thing about carcinogens, so I live in California, and we had a proposition passed at some point where everything that was carcinogenic or might contain things that cause cancer has to be labeled. And, you know, it's like a lot of California propositions, it's well-intentioned, but very stupid. Like, okay, I don't want to get into it, but like, a lot of participation in California democracy means that like the blandest and therefore least useful ideas tend to make it to the actual point of elections. And sometimes just genuinely regressive ideas too. But basically it means that everywhere you go in California, there's a sign saying, yeah, you'll get cancer.
Yep.
It like legitimately, you'll never see one of those and be like, oh, word? No, it's always like, oh, well, gee, I walked past 8 of those signs to get here, so I literally have no idea how dangerous this is.
I'll show my strength. Ready to act.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Our
I mean, it actually
skirmishers
looks like we
shattered
could be
that
going-
guy.
Like, actually, you know, you're boiled down to just the lads, but it looks like it could be going worse.
Yeah. Which is strange. Where? Oh, this guy's over here doing nothing, I guess. Here. Route that guy and make him leave. The
You just need to
hero
scare
can
the
apparently
right
just
people.
do a whole fucking lot.
Well, yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I remember reading Steam reviews for, like, the Three Kingdoms Total War game, and people were like, does it seem like heroes are really powerful to anyone else?
Yeah.
It's kind of amusing. Like, yeah, that's kind of the idea, actually.
Holy crap! Why are they? Did they leave? What's going on here?
Yeah, just piece it out.
Am I seriously actually going to win this? Is that what the fuck's happening right now?
Some
What is
argues
not
every
routing?
Total War game has basically become Total War Hammer. Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. Yeah, once they started dipping into the fantasy well, it's kind of like they found a lot of ground there. When was the last like strictly historical Total War game?
Attila?
Prepare to meet Hades. Why are those cowards running?
I don't feel like I ever heard anybody talk about that game.
It was sort of a standalone expansion to Rome 2 that brought it out to
Right.
like the late Empire.
Yeah, you're totally right. They did Saga Britannia after that. They did Three Kingdoms.
Oh yeah,
they
the
did Troy
Britannia,
now.
I guess, is technically pretty historical, probably. I never played that one. And then there's Three Kingdoms, which is semi-historical, but it's based on the novel, right? Like the ancient Chinese
Right.
novel, Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
But yeah, like Attila in 2014 was pretty much the last like strict historical game.
Yeah. Are you fucking serious? What the fuck is going on here? This is so dumb! Hector ran around and just killed like 1,000 enemy troops Well, he didn't kill him, but he forced him to retreat. Hey, we win. Victory. The fuck?
That, I think everybody, I speak for everyone in the chat when I say I'm very surprised.
Alright, well... I guess we win.
Lidl526 says, new strategy, Hector only mode. Yeah.
Cadmean victory is because Pyrrhus is like 1,500 years in the future.
You even deserve to call it a victory. I think
he's 900 years in the future. Shh, forget. I know math.
Do you even deserve to call it a victory? It's just a great question to ask you whenever you win anything in a game. Do you feel like a hero yet? I don't know. This seems like a normal Greek hero victory.
Yeah,
Everyone
I guess.
who's associated with you dies and suffers, but you get tons of glory.
Replenishment would probably replenish a significant number of losses here. Better than the treasury thing at this point, I think. So
Josh, if you had to sum up the strategies that allowed you to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat there, how would you summarize the tactics you employed?
I would say I got pissed off at the interface enough that the gods intervened and made the enemies run away.
Okay, well, take that away. Take that to the bank, folks. That's how you turn the tides in this man's Troy Total War.
They want some of my bronze. I assume this is he's asking for it rather than demanding it. Who is he?
It's optional. Well, it's kind of it's unless you're going to continue this in your off time, it's academic. Because we're actually hitting, believe it or not, the 2-hour mark.
Yeah. Whatever. I agree. I guess that's cool.
But yeah, I guess does that wrap up our stream?
Blessing of the gods may
Since
be
we
sought
won,
from
I want to go
earthly
take that
worship.
town if it's not going to be another big
Construct
battle.
an altar in honor of one
Yeah,
of the
I don't see why not.
Olympian
I'm just going to take a bit of a
powers to
bio.
earn their
You
favor.
continue entertaining the chat by explaining your vast and bottomless knowledge of Trojan history.
Such as it is.
You are now ready to recruit an agent. Such
I'm just trying to put you on the spot
operatives
as
will
much
move
as
freely
possible.
behind enemy lines and strike independently
So
of
did
your armies.
So they're giving me like missions that I think I'm completing immediately as soon as I receive them. So is there? Do we have any idea what the garrison there is?
Hector of the Shimmering Helm. Impractical.
What? Why am I not
I
allowed
fight for my
to
city.
move? Oh no, Athena! I guess Athena, helped me out there, and it's like, okay, you got to do more for me if you want me to hang around. Right, awesome. To benevolence by fulfilling support your brother. Did I support my brother?
Attack as one.
We can probably auto-resolve this and it won't be terrible.
Don't hold back.
Yeah, there you go. That's the other thing with Total War, isn't it? Like, after a little while, you get really tired of fighting all the tactical battles, so you just auto-resolve. That's mine, anyway.
Make it
We're gonna
ours.
occupy it. Alright, so that has been... Oh, so that's how I get Priam's favor. Okay. Well, that has been Total War Troy. We talked a bit about history, a bit about gameplay, a lot about Yahoo Answers for some reason.
I'm back, by the way.
Oh, you left. Okay, I didn't even notice that. Look at all my world events.
All right, then.
Awesome.
Yeah, looks good. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you guys with more Vampire coming up next week.
Yep.
And I guess there's more Vampire for the indeterminate future.
Yeah, I think so. So this has actually been the first, 2.5 hours of my weekend, so I'm going to go and get dinner now and do something that doesn't require my brain.
Please do. Okay, see ya.
Yep, thanks for being here, Red Scar, and good night. Red Scar, good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.